Hey everyone, it's Ria. Thanks for coming back. Today I've got a really quick video, mainly because it's Monday. I still get ready for work. I've got laundry going, and that's sort of the point of this. It's one of those days when you really want to sew. You just maybe need to get your sojo back, or you just need to have a way to get out some sewing energy, creative energy, but you don't have the time to do much more. And this little tote is absolutely perfect for that. There's no pattern for this. There's no written pattern. It's just one, I don't want to say I came up with, anyone would come up with this, but it's a sort of a reminder of how easy it can be sometimes to sew things like this. So for this tote, you need very, very little. You want ideally to pick out materials that don't need to be interfaced. Now I did need to interface this. This was some sublimated material from the Emporium. As of June 30th, this is the current Halloween round that's running, June 30th, 2025, in case you're coming back to it later. So I did have to interface that. But normally if I were to do this, I'd use vinyl, I'd use cork, I'd use waterproof canvas, I'd use something on both the exterior and interior that does not need to be interfaced at all. Because all I would need to do is quickly cut it out, quickly cut some straps, sew it together. And for cutting it out, I don't even want to think that much about it. So for me, I just grab my 13 by 13 inch ruler. I think it's a great size to create a teeny little tote bag. And so I cut it out with this, both the exterior and the lining. I then can obviously use a ruler, but I also have this little tool, better this way, from Carolina Little Stitches, which allows me to quickly cut my corners. So I decide, okay, maybe I want it to be a 1 inch corner, a 2 inch corner, 2.5 inch, whatever I want it to be. I can decide and just quickly cut them out with that. I half the time just kind of eyeball how long I want my webbing strap to be, and to help ensure that everything is where it needs to be, I'll just grab another ruler, I'll mark where the seam allowance should be, mark where it goes on here, and I'll show you how I sort of decide that when I do it, and sew it together. I mean, this, if I weren't filming it, and I mentioned this in the video, probably between cutting out and sewing it together is half hour, 45 minutes. It's so fast. It really is a great way to just get a fun little project done. So as I said, right now I can see, let me see, it is 9:15 p.m. and I do still have to get ready for work tomorrow, but I was able to get this done and it makes me happy. Sometimes you just need that. You need that little thing to make you happy. So why don't you tag along as I make this. As I said, as of today, if you're interested in some of these prints from the Halloween round, I will link the Brittany's The Emporium shop below, so you can grab those. The rest of this, Georgia Girl stitches for my webbing, and more me know for my water resistant canvas, and a fun little Heartwood and Hide tag. So yeah, let's start making this. Okay, so mentioned in the intro that this is a pattern that doesn't actually have a pattern. This is a great opportunity to just make something quick and easy when you just need a quick make and you want to work with some of the materials that you have, maybe some scraps. And so I have these really cute prints. These are sublimated prints, and I want to make something with these. And even though I have another sublimated one that actually says trick or treat, somehow when I look at this one, it just looks like a trick or treat bag. And I know it's only June 30th when I'm making this. We're still a ways from Halloween, but somehow that's what this is calling to me. So I've got two of them, as you can see. I'm going to just pull out one right now, and I'm going to pull out my 13 by 13 inch ruler, because that just is going to make it super, super easy. Now you can see the print is just slightly narrower, and I could put it up, I could put it down, whatever I want to do there. I'm going to try to center it right in between there. But that's what I do when I want to make this really quick tote. I just grab my square ruler and I'm going to cut it, and then I realize I forgot something. Just cut out the corners to whatever size I want. How deep do I want this bag? I think since this is 13 by 13, it's not like I'm going to want, a 4-inch wide bag necessarily. It's going to be probably a little deep, but maybe if I were using my 18 by 18 inch ruler, I would use that. I mean, that's the thing. And you don't have to use a square ruler. You could clearly just cut it whatever you want. Just I'm making it square. I just think it's easy. It's easy to do it that way. So what I'll do is I'll figure out, where do I like the print? Like, what do I want centered on here? Do I want it more here? And I'm also thinking about how can I maybe use more of this material then as well. And I know one thing Brittany had mentioned, so Brittany of the Emporium, she printed this. She mentioned, at the top, it might have looked like it, I don't know, bled or something a little, but that's going to be caught up in the seam allowance, so I'm not super concerned. And that's why I'm sort of trying to have it so it's an equal amount of white space on the top and the bottom, since the print is just slightly smaller than 13 inches wide. That might be, well, see here. So I'm looking at this. I don't like, that doesn't feel centered to me. Whoops, sorry. This feels better right there, where I've got, even though some of these are going to get caught up in the sides, these two will, they're an equal distance from the sides. That's what I like. Now, yeah, it doesn't leave a lot for me to use left over, but that's okay. And so now I'm going to just cut it. Sorry. There. Oops. Again, trying to get it pretty even on the top and bottom. There. And then I'll just turn it around. Sorry, just realized you didn't see that cut there. I'll bring this closer. I'm trying to do this sort of at an angle. It's just where it's convenient to put the phone for my camera in relation to my cutting table. There we go. Okay, so we've got that squared up. So I've got my 13 by 13 inch square. I'm going to do, oops, the same with my other one. I'm going to do the same, oops, sorry, with my lining. I thought it would look nice with some green. It's going to pull out the little bits of green that are right there. I'm just going to use black webbing for straps. So I usually cut that right around when I'm ready to put it on. And then what I would do is cut out my corners. Now what I am going to do first with this, because this is sublimated, I did put Sophie's Plus on the back, but I'm going to put some Decovil on there as well, just to make it a little firmer. So we'll be right back when I've got all of my pieces prepped, and then we'll cut out the corners together. So we've got our 2 pieces of lining. So I'm using some water resistant canvas for this. You can use waterproof canvas as well if you'd like. Looks like I've got a little bit there. Just get rid of that. I've got my 2 pieces here of my main fabric. Now again, I did interface this because it's sublimated, but the whole point of this sort of really quick sew is use something that doesn't need to be. Use vinyl, use cork, use waterproof canvas or cotton, something that you don't need to interface. So that this is supposed to be a really quick sew. And so I've got those set. I did also already bring out my webbing, just using black. I've got the corner tool and my rotary cutter. So let's put this aside. Let's just pull one of these out right now. My my size here is 13 by 13. As I mentioned, that was my ruler. So when I want to figure out the corner, and this is a really nice corner tool from Carolina Little Stitches. It has notches in here for your rotary cutter, and it shows markings on the side so you can determine what size squared box corners you want. And so for something this size, I'm probably, let's see, I'm going to line it up. I can line it up to 1.5 inch here. And I am going all the way down to the white. Remember, the 13 by 13 is here. Even though the image ends there, the fabric ends there. That I cut deliberately that way. So let's do a 1.5 and 1.5 and see how we look. There we go. That might be a little small. Maybe I'll do I want 2? I think 2 might be big. So maybe 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. I kind of like that. That's a better looking size. It doesn't look too big or too small. Yeah, I like that. So I'm going to line up. So here's the 1 3/4 line. Here's the 1 3/4 line. Line that up. Then I do have to angle this so I make sure I cut it properly. There we go. And so all you do, take your rotary cutter and carefully cut along those lines, and it's going to cut out the corner for you. And so now you have a perfect box corner. So I can do it again over here. 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. Make sure you're doing the right corners. Don't accidentally turn it and have it be the wrong corner. And so there you go. Oops, there we go. Looks good. Okay, let's do the same here. We're going to do the same actually in all 4 pieces. Okay, those are cut. You should certainly save some of these. I mean, these here with the Decaville on it, I might not save that. Those will be harder to use. But these you could use to, you know, if you needed a zipper end, you could fold it in, and you've already have this set, so you can see, have it set for a zipper end. So these are good things to save here. I probably still will save these because you never know. Okay, so we've got that all set. So we're basically ready to sew, though I am going to pull out a tag. The next thing we need to figure out, though, let's actually just grab one of these, is our strap. And that you can, both need to figure out where you want to put it on here and then how long you want it. And what you really could do is just sort of figure out, now keep in mind we're going to have a little bit of overhang. We're going to have it go in probably about a 1/2 inch. Let me bring this down. Whoops, sorry. Moving the camera here. There, hopefully you can see that a little bit more. Well, it's like, how big do I want that handle? Do I want it to be just a cute little one here? Do I want it a little longer? It's not a very big bag, and so I'm going to do it sideways. You'll be able to see it because I need to be able to see it too. Do I think that looks too big? That, I think I like this. So I'm just going to cut what I thought looked good. Let's see how long this is. So it was 19 inches, so I probably could have done 20 if you wanted just a round number, but 19 is fine. So I'm going to cut another piece. I'm just lining the 2 up because I'll need 2. Okay, got our strap. So you can see that was easy enough. Just sort of eyeballed it for what I wanted. I'm going to find my center, like we would on anything here, because I want to make sure that the strap is sort of right where I'd want it to be. Okay, so I've got my center marked. And in fact, I can line this up here so you can see the inch marks here. I don't know, I sometimes like it. You can figure out how far in do you want it to be. Do you want it to count in 3 inches and then have it go over? And then 1, 2, 3. That actually looks kind of nice. So I think that's what I'm going to plan as well. Yeah, that would be too much. I like 3. I like it so you come in 3, and then at the 3 mark, it's on the inside of that. So I'll mark those as well. I am going to grab a tag, so 1 second. Okay, so let's first, before we do anything, as I said, I want to do 3 inches in. So I'm going to put a little mark here, and then, yep, and then 1, 2, 3, a little mark here. Do that on the other one as well, because that's where I'm going to put the strap. Okay. The other thing I want to decide is, do I have a preference for the front? Let's see. Not really. The one thing you may notice, so for this one, it starts with an orange cat on this side, ends with a white cat. I did cut the second panel, so it starts with the white and ends with an orange. I just felt like doing that. So, do I have a preference? Because I want to put my cute little boo tag on it, and it'll be somewhere towards the front. You can see on the top. And let's see. I think that's the one. I just sort of like it centered there. It's going to go right about there. So let's see. This one doesn't have its center marked. Let's mark the center. This is a Heartwood and Hide tag. Let me get some tape. It's a 2-inch tag. And I knew that right away because my personal, there we go. My personal tags are this size as well. So you can see it's a 2-inch tag. And so what I do when I use this, you can, they've got templates that you can use to ensure that everything is, placed properly for your tags. I think right now though, and just in case you don't have one, we can see there's my center mark. And I know it's 2 inches. I'm going to figure out where do I want, how far down do I want this? I wanted it about, whoops, or about there. And that center, oh, it's going to cover the face though, so maybe I'll put it up a smidgen. Yeah, we're going to put it there. That's okay. So what I'm going to do is figure out how far down that means I want this to be. So I'm aligning my ruler with the edge of the fabric. Yeah, that'll be good. And I'm also putting one of the inch marks right there in the center mark. I've got double-sided tape on the back of my tag, and if I know that this mark right here is the center mark, I can align it between those 2 inch marks. And so let me just make sure. Yeah, that looks good. So we're going to put that boo tag there. I'm going to sew into the seam of the actual lining my tag rather than putting it on the outside. I think I want the outside to really be just the pattern because it's so cute. So we are basically ready. I think the only other thing I want to do, because this helps me a lot, is mark a 1/2 inch down on my straps, because I am really bad at guesstimating where a 1/2 inch is. And so, sorry, let's get that out of the way. I could have used a shorter ruler, but that's okay. So I'm just going to the 1/2 inch, marking it on each side. That way I can see. I'm going to align that with the top of the bag at those 3 inch marks. And that way I know each of them will be even. They'll be caught in the seam allowance. 1/2 inch is a nice amount to be caught in the seam allowance. Oops. Great. We are ready to put this together. So I'll be right back while I kind of move the camera around. So one thing I want to do is burn. I want to melt down the ends of my straps. I mean, they're going to be in the seam allowance, but if you start with them already sort of melted, I think there's a little less chance of them fraying eventually. So, and I tend to really melt things down. I like to be able to look at it and see it shine. To see that it's been melted, not just singed a little, but truly melted. So you'll tend to see me do this a bit. Okay, so those are done. Before I start sewing it together, I do want to put that boo tag on. So here it is. Let me bring down my hem jumper from what I was using before. I am using the candy corn, yeah, I think what was it? Thread, variegated thread from Wizardry, and I just think it's gonna look great on the exterior, and I like the idea of the orange with the green. I just think that'll be nice on the interior. So we're just going to go around. I do bring my stitch length down for this, typically between a 4 and a 4.5 when I sew on my tags. I just find it does a better job. I sort of similar to when you're doing curves, and it helps if you have a smaller stitch, stitch length. I can talk. Yeah, I think they're locked in there. So, oh well, that's fine. It's gonna be locked, and I'll just still tie these two, but I can't pull them through. I mean, I can feel them tugging a little bit on each other, but not enough to pull through. So it is what it is. That's fine. We'll just cut them as short as we can. There, great. So let's see. Straight enough. There you go. Looks great with the rest of it. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is sew on the straps, or at least baste them on. And so we marked on here where I want to put them. So I put 3 inch marks, and I'm going to put the strap on the inside. So now, and I also marked the overhang here. So you, like a strap connector or anything, you want it to come in, and you want it to go like this. You don't want it to twist. And I'm aligning that 1/2 inch mark that I drew on my strap right here, and I'm just going to baste this on. Probably a little more than basting, I guess. I get it through. I am notorious. I'm going to actually go through and do that again. I am notorious for going so close to the edge that I usually miss it. So let's do this again, because I don't want it to shift a lot. Just a teeny bit to tack it down. And try to hold it in there straight. There we go. There. Now it's not going anywhere. We also aren't so close to each other that I'm risking perforating it. So that's good. Okay. So again, I'm going to make sure this stays straight. I'm kind of keeping it like this. I go like this. Turn it around. So I'm going to make sure I don't see any twist. Put that up there as well to that mark. Sew that down. Let's do the other one. Now we're ready to sew it together. I mean, that's the thing. When you've got just one piece for everything, it makes it so fast. So I'm going to line like you normally would. So just sort of line everything up. Now I'm also going to leave a hole. You clearly need to turn this. I'm not doing this as a drop-in. I guess I could. As I drop my clips, my hesitation with drop-ins when you have a strap connector or a strap sewn directly into the seam is how strong is that? I mean, you don't have as many lines of stitches going through it as you would if you were to do a traditional birth method. And while I know this isn't intended to carry a ton, although candy can get heavy if you're using this for candy, I like to do it sort of a birth method when the straps are right here in the seam. If the straps are not, if maybe you are going to affix them, like maybe rivet them to the exterior in some way or rivet them through, then I have no problem with it. But I just don't like doing it when it's right in the seam. So I'm going to put the hole in the side seam here. I like it in the side as opposed to the bottom, because then the bottom will be flat. I mean, I suppose I could butterfly it. I'm not going to do that. Again, the whole point of this exercise is to do something fast. You want this to be fast and quick. You don't want to be spending a lot of time. It's just, you just kind of need your sojo back. I'm going to do something that I know Brittany has done before. She has mentioned, so she doesn't forget where she needs to leave her hole, she'll put 2 clips like this. That's a really good idea because otherwise I will forget. So we'll put it there. So like with the exterior, this is all right sides together. Now you can decide what seam allowance you want. I mean, this is yours. I'm going to go with still a kind of a normal 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. I just think that's a nice seam allowance to use. So I'm going to start doing that all the way around. I'm going to do that also for my box bottom, but we'll start here, 3/8 of an inch for everything. I take that back, sorry. Lining. I'm going to start at 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to increase to a half because I do want this to fit a little more snugly. Ooh. I took the 2 clips off and almost forgot why they were there. So good thing I remembered that. Okay, so I'm kind of, as you can see, walking it in. I just want to keep by going in this way first a little bit, and then going and then continuing with my side seam. It helps to just strengthen right here where I'm going to have that space. So I'm just going in a couple of stitches to whatever your current seam allowance is there. Oops, let's see. Hopefully I got, yeah, perfect. Now I'll continue still at a half. And right about now I'm going to move out to 3/8. And so you can see here, this is where I just did those little stitches. It's just going to help keep that stronger right there when I need to turn it. And we can just box them while we're here. And I'm not going to, probably even going to nest these. I think that's easier. My bottom down here got a little wider this corner, just by a hair. I'm not going to worry about it. What I will do is just cut this down a little bit. Okay, I can set that aside. And now we will do the same here, except I'm going to do 3/8 of an inch all the way around. So I've decided I'm going to nest these. I feel with the Decaville there, it's just a little harder to butterfly it open. And I wanted to have still a nice, crisp corner and base. And nesting is going to be the easiest thing to do there. What I may also do is trim off some of the edge here before I'm done. I'm just feeling it like it doesn't need to be quite, that doesn't need to be quite so stiff. But yeah, nesting here is definitely easiest. Tried to keep it as straight as I can, but you can see this popped up a little bit right there. Not worried about it. It's fine. I'm just going to trim that off. I'm going to trim all of these a little bit. Although that one probably trimmed a little more than I would have liked. Just feels close to the seam. So I'm going to do one more. Maybe a 1/16 of an inch, an 1/8 of an inch into it. So I am making it a smidgen smaller. I'll do the same on the other side, but not a big deal. Just a way to strengthen it and not a bad thing to do there anyway. Just so that we're kind of consistent, we'll do one on this side. And I did back stitch over the seams just to really hold them in place. Okay, so let's just trim this a little bit. Do I want to? Yeah, I am going to trim a little bit on the sides here. Oops, there we go, right here. Now, when I trim the sides on anything I do, I don't go all the way up to the top because I still want to be able to have some wiggle room there when I need to sew the two pieces, the lining and the exterior together. So I usually always leave a little there. If I hadn't already boxed the bottom, let's say I was trimming this ahead of time, I would have done the same at the bottom. I would have left some there so that it'd be easy to box the bottom. I'm going to even go into here a little bit. Great. Okay. Time to put it together. Looks good down there. Okay. So make sure my straps are inside. I don't have a front or a back to any of this, so I'm just putting the bag in. I'm going to, got right sides to get, like, do I have it? No. Like, that felt weird. Make sure you turn your lining inside out so you have right sides together. I prefer to put my lining inside my exterior. I know some patterns might say put your exterior inside your lining, but I prefer to do it this way. I mean, it's how it should be. Your exterior is on the outside. It's the exterior. There we go. And it's also easier if you, depending on how much smaller your lining is, you know, you may not be able to get it really in there. And it just may mean that things are not aligning the way they should as you try to sew everything together. So, yeah. So even though I'm not butterflying these open, I mean, normally I might leave this part right here, as I said, a little longer to butterfly. I'm not, but I'm going to, because it's just really stiff. I mean, it's because of the Decaville. I mean, I could, but it just feels very stiff. I'm still going to butterfly it, but having that extra there makes it easier to butterfly. If I cut it down, you have this little nub sort of sticking there. So I'm glad I don't have that. So I'm going to first do my corners, my edges. And I just realized I didn't mark the centers of my lining. That's okay. It'll work. I'm just going to kind of tug it like this, and I can see where it wants to fall for the center. And just clip there, and then just clip around. We're ready to sew it. I am still going to use my cylinder arm. I mean, this takes a minute to take it off. It's really fast, but I mean, yes, it's extra time if the whole goal of this is to just sew. But I sew so much faster on this part on my cylinder arm. So I'm gonna, that's still good there. Okay. Doesn't really matter where I start. I'm gonna do a 3/8 of an inch here as well, like I did before on the rest for the exterior. And I will bring down my guide here because I think it's helpful to just really ensure I've got it at a 3/8 of an inch. There we go. I do have to lift it up usually as I go over my straps because it sort of butts up against it, but that's okay. So I'll lift it right there. I can bring it down as soon as it's gone past it because it can go over it, which doesn't. It can be on top of it and keep moving. It just doesn't move over it itself. It's not like a walking edge guide. Feels like it bobbled a little right there, so I'm going to have it just go back over. There. That's better. You can see it was a little uneven, so I just did it. Fix that. Okay, well, now we can turn it. That fast and easy. It might be a little challenging to turn because of all the Decaville, but at least it's not vinyl with Decaville. That'd be a pain. I could have left my hole a little wider. Yay. All the seams are nice there. Pretty lined up nicely there. Lined up well. Everything lined up nicely. Perfect. Okay. Before I sew my tag in, I like to do my top stitching. It's just how I'm used to it. And so I'm just pulling this down. I'm trying to get the green to go just slightly behind the exterior. Not a huge deal if it pops up, but ideally it's a little behind there. That way my seam will be a little bit thicker. So I drop all my clips as usual. It's okay. Side seam, I should say. This is so cute. So cute. I have already pre-ordered this print because, yes, it comes in four colorways, I think. I like how I did four colorways. I think that's right, including purple, which is the color I normally would go for. But oops, as I lose the clip, I really like it with this black background. So it's the same print, but there's one that's kind of there's a purple one, a green one, like an orangey one, an orangey yellow one, and then the black. And I really like this black one. Okay, so now we are going to top stitch. So let me bring my stitch length up to a 5. Don't need the seam guide any longer for that because I'm just going to go right along the edge. So I always put it in then as far, like retract it as much as I can so it doesn't get in the way. I think I've mentioned before, I like to start on the seam. So I'm going to start on this seam here and then go around the back. It's just how I like to do it, but I just prefer to start also right there in the seam where as close to the seam as possible. Okay. Let me bring my hump jumper up a little bit because we do have a couple of thicker parts in those seams. Okay. And we're just going to go 1/8 of an inch from the edge all the way around. Make sure you hold, I mean, even though your straps are sewed in there, I still try to hold them straight. Just one more opportunity to ensure they're nice and straight. Which I guess would be the point of holding them straight. They're nice and straight. Woohoo! Okay, let's take a look. One thing I always want to check, especially if I try to have the lining be just a little below the edge of the exterior, is did I catch it all? And I did, because sometimes it may not be as consistently below as you'd like, but yep, I did. So let's just see. I still have to sew up the seam, but look at that. How cute is that? I mean, you can get a lot of candy in that. This is a nice little drop. I think, you know, someone could put it like this, so a little kid, if they were using this, or a big kid, for their candy, it's not going to go on your shoulder, but you can easily carry it. So, let me see, did I put my personal tag? Put it somewhere. Okay, one sec while I find my tag. Found it. It was on the floor. Where else would it be? Everything falls. Okay, so I've got my hole in the side seam. I'm going to fold it in to where it naturally wants to fold, and clip and drop clips because they're everywhere. Trying to try to get this as straight. I mean, so here is the box corner I'm folding it in because I want to see that natural fold right there. So I'm clipping it even down into some of that part, which is sewn together, but that way I can ensure that it's nice and consistent across right there. And so most of this will be, I'll just sew it up, but right here at the top, I'm going to put the tag as close as I can to the top. I just like it there. One, you can see it, and two, it's just kind of wedges in there nicely. These tags I had made at Formino because I wanted to have something so that I could put it on the inside for those times when I don't want to put a tag on the outside. So hold on, wait, same thing I did on the top, I want to do here. I want to get this to be as straight as possible there as well. Let's clip that. There we go. Now I should be able to get that into there a little bit better. It was moving around on me. That's good. Okay. And I will usually clip on both sides of the tag. Now I could put the arm back on, and I admittedly will do a better job sewing it with the arm back on, but I don't want to put the arm back, or not the arm flatbed attachment back on. So we're just going to do 1/8 of an inch here. I'm going to start lower, so it's starting down where I know it's already sewn together, but that's okay. And then just sew like that. This is another one where I'm notorious for missing things on the back, but I didn't, so we're fine. Okay. This as short as I can. I'll melt that down. Let me just quickly melt those. So there, nice roomy interior, lots of room for candy. And we've got our little boo tag on the front. Oh, let me just quickly melt down from the side here. I think it was fine on that side, yeah. So yeah, this is a super, so as I said, a super fun way, fast way of quickly sewing up a little tote. If you need a tote, but for me, as I said, it's when I just feel the need to sew something or I need to kind of help get my sojo back, because if you use vinyl, waterproof canvas for your lining or something, as long as it doesn't need to be interfaced, you know, if I wasn't filming this, this probably would have taken half hour, 45 minutes tops. It's that fast, and it's a great way to just kind of get your groove back. So yeah, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.